In a world that asks you to react first and think later, the quiet mind becomes a superpower. The inbox dings. The comment stings. The traffic crawls, and someone cuts across your lane like your time doesn't matter. And before you even notice, your peace has been traded away for a few heated seconds of being right. But what if you didn't have to spend your day this way? What if no one, no headline, no stranger, no argument could reach in and pull the plug on your inner calm? That's not a fantasy. It's a skill. And today, you're going to learn it. Buddhist wisdom points to a different kind of strength, one that doesn't shout, doesn't rush, and doesn't break. The strength of the person who can stand in the storm and not become the storm. The strength of someone who knows, I don't control the world, but I absolutely control my response. If you've ever felt hijacked by a single sentence, if you've replayed a conversation for hours, if you've gone to bed angry at a face that isn't even in the room anymore, this video is for you. Here's our promise. By the end of this journey, you'll have 7 field-tested practices, simple, memorable, repeatable, that move you from knee-jerk reaction to deliberate response. We'll build you a calm that lasts, not a calm that collapses when life gets loud. We'll start with detachment, loving fully, without clinging to outcomes. Then, observe. Don't absorb. How to stop carrying emotions that aren't yours. You'll master the power of pause, that tiny space between trigger and response where your freedom lives. We'll end the cycle with don't feed the fire, learn the power of silence, open the heart with acceptance, and hardwire peace through focused energy over time. This isn't philosophy to admire, it's training to use. You'll get real-world scenarios, workplace tension, family conflict, online rage, and concrete drills you can run today. Think of this as a gym for your nervous system. Every breath, every pause, every mindful choice is one more rep that builds the muscle of calm. So take a comfortable breath. Roll your shoulders back. Let the jaw unclench. Feel the floor under your feet and the air moving in and out like a tide you can trust. The world will still be the world after this video, busy, opinionated, imperfect. But you will be different. You'll be the one who chooses when to engage and when to let go. The one who can hear noise and keep a quiet center. The one who remembers, peace is not found, it's practiced. Let's begin with Lesson 1. Detachment, the art of loving without clinging. Most people think letting go means losing something. But real detachment isn't about loss, it's about freedom. It's the art of loving deeply without making that love a prison. Imagine this. You pour your heart into your work, your relationships, your goals. But the moment something doesn't go your way, someone ignores you, a plan fails, a person changes, you fall apart. Why? Because your peace was tied to something outside yourself. The Buddha called this upadana, clinging. It's that invisible grip we place on people, on results, on comfort. We cling to being right, being liked, being in control. And when reality refuses to cooperate, we suffer. Here's the shift. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care with wisdom, not with ownership. You love, but you don't demand. You give, but you don't expect a return. You participate in life, but you stop trying to control its every turn. Think of it like holding sand in your hand. Squeeze tightly, and it slips away. Hold it gently, and it stays. The same goes for relationships, goals, even your identity. When you grip too hard, everything starts to crumble. A father once told me a story. His son grew up, moved to another state, and chose a life he didn't understand. For years, the father worried, argued, tried to fix him. Until one day, he stopped trying to change his son and started simply being there. He said, "When I stopped needing him to be who I wanted, I finally saw who he really was." That's detachment in action. In neuroscience, this isn't just philosophy. The more we cling, the more cortisol, our stress hormone, floods the body. But when we practice letting go, our parasympathetic system, the calm response, activates. Detachment literally rewires the brain for peace. Here's a simple practice. Every morning, before you check your phone, whisper this mantra: "I love deeply, but I let go easily." Repeat it until it feels natural, until your chest feels lighter. Because when you stop making external things responsible for your happiness, you become unshakable. Praise no longer lifts you too high. Criticism no longer drags you too low. You begin to move like water fluid, free, but always whole. Remember, detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's walking through the world with open hands and a steady heart. And when life doesn't go your way, you can still smile and whisper, "This, too, belongs." Let's move to lesson 2. Observe, don't absorb, how to protect your energy. The world is constantly throwing emotions at you: anger, fear, jealousy, panic. You walk into a room and feel the tension before anyone speaks. You scroll online and feel the outrage in every headline. And without even realizing it, you start to carry it. That's what most people do. They absorb. They take in every negative glance, every harsh tone, every bit of chaos around them, and they call it being sensitive. But sensitivity without awareness turns into suffering. Buddhist mindfulness teaches something radically different. Observe, don't absorb. You are not here to hold the world's pain in your chest. You are here to witness it with compassion, not to become it. Imagine your mind as a still lake. A storm passes. The surface ripples, yes, but the depth remains calm. The storm does not define the lake. In the same way, the world's chaos doesn't have to define you. Here's something science confirms. Humans have what neuroscientists call mirror neurons, tiny circuits in the brain that copy what we see in others. When someone around you is angry, your brain begins to simulate that emotion. That's why energy is contagious. But mindfulness breaks the chain. When you notice that wave rising, your heart racing, your breath tightening, don't fight it. Just see it. Label it. This is anger, this is fear. Watch it as if you were watching a passing cloud. Because that's all it is, temporary weather. Here's a quick method, the 5-second observation rule. When you feel triggered, don't respond. Inhale slowly for 5 seconds. While breathing, say silently, "Observe, don't absorb." In that moment, you remind your body that peace is still an option. Picture this: a coworker snaps at you for no reason. Instead of absorbing their frustration, you recognize it's not yours to carry. You breathe, stay grounded, and let their storm pass. You become the calm they didn't know they needed. The Buddha once said, "Just as a mirror reflects without holding, the wise reflect without absorbing." That's what mastery looks like. You stop being a sponge and become a mirror, clear, steady, and free. Because absorbing everyone's chaos doesn't make you empathetic, it makes you exhausted. Observing it, understanding it, and letting it pass, that's compassion with boundaries. Ask yourself this: how much of what you're feeling today is truly yours? How much did you absorb from someone else's pain? Start noticing the difference. Remember, you can't stop the world from sending energy your way, but you can stop letting it live rent-free in your heart. Stay light. Stay grounded. And when the storm comes, just whisper to yourself, "I am the lake, not the waves." Next, we'll go deeper into the practice that makes this awareness possible. Lesson 3. The power of pause, the secret space of freedom. Between what happens to you and how you respond lies a tiny, invisible space. Most people miss it. They get hit with an insult, and before they even breathe, words explode out of them. They feel a flash of fear and instantly retreat. They see a challenge, and the mind screams, "I can't." But that space so small you could fit it between two heartbeats is everything. In that space lives your freedom, your wisdom, your true power. The Buddha understood this perfectly. He said, "We are not prisoners of what happens, we are prisoners of our reactions." And modern psychology agrees. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Let's see how that looks in real life. A husband and wife are arguing. She says something sharp. He feels his chest tighten, anger surging like fire. The old habit would be to fight back, to prove, to defend, to hurt. But instead, he stops. 1 breath. 2. 3. In that pause, he sees her pain beneath the words. And instead of reacting, he listens. The argument never happens. That's not weakness. That's mastery. When you pause, you interrupt the pattern that has ruled you for years. You stop being a puppet of emotions and become the director of your own story. The pause is the break in the storm where you find your center again. Here's a simple practice to build it. The 3-breath rule. Whenever you feel that urge to react, pause for 3 slow breaths. Inhale, notice the body. Exhale, release the thought. Inhale again. Ask yourself, what is the wise response here? Not the emotional one, not the automatic one, the conscious one. This single habit rewires your brain. Every time you pause, you train your mind to step back from the edge. You teach your nervous system that stillness is safe. And you give your higher self the time it needs to act with clarity instead of chaos. Remember, reacting fast doesn't make you strong. Reacting wisely makes you unstoppable. Try this the next time life tests you. Someone cuts you off in traffic? Pause. Your coworker sends a passive-aggressive email? Pause. Your child yells back at you? Pause. Every pause is a chance to rise above the noise. Because power doesn't live in control, it lives in choice. And the pause gives you that choice. So next time you're about to say something you'll regret, remember, you don't have to win the moment. You just have to pause long enough to stay free. Let's move to the next lesson. Lesson 4, don't feed the fire, ending the cycle of reaction. Anger is contagious. One spark can set off an entire forest inside you. Someone throws an insult, and suddenly your chest burns, your words sharpen, and your peace disappears in smoke. But here's what the Buddha taught. Hatred is never ended by hatred. Hatred is ended by love. When someone throws their fire at you, you always have two choices: catch it or let it die. Most people catch it. They take the torch of anger and throw it back even harder. But when you fight fire with fire, you don't win, you just create a bigger fire. Non-reaction is not weakness. It's intelligence. Because every time you choose not to feed the flame, you protect your energy, your peace, and your dignity. Imagine someone shouting at you loud, angry, full of blame. Your ego wants to fight back. But instead, you stand still. You breathe. You let their fire burn without oxygen. You say nothing. And suddenly, something magical happens. Their flame begins to fade. Your silence disarms them. Because they expected your anger to fuel theirs, but you gave them nothing to burn. The Buddha compared this to someone handing you a hot coal. If you don't grab it, it burns no one. If you take it, it burns you both. Letting the fire burn out doesn't mean you allow injustice. It means you refuse to become what you're trying to end. Here's a practice called the rock in the storm. When you're provoked, visualize yourself as a rock in the middle of a raging storm. The rain hits, the wind screams, but the rock doesn't move. The storm eventually passes. It always does. And here's the truth. Every time you react, you train your brain to react faster next time. But when you stay calm, when you choose silence, you train yourself for peace. Neuroscience calls this pattern interruption. Every time you refuse to engage in anger, you rewire your neural pathways away from reactivity and towards self-mastery. So, the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Do I need to set myself on fire just to prove I'm right? The answer will always be no. You don't need to defend yourself in every argument. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to fight every battle. Because your peace is too precious to be wasted on temporary flames. Let others burn out in their own fire. You stay cool, grounded, and untouchable. And remember, silence is not surrender, it's strategy. It's choosing to protect your energy instead of proving your ego. Stay still. Let the fire die on its own. That's how the wise win every battle without ever fighting. Now, let's step into the next practice, the most elegant form of strength. Lesson 5. The power of silence. Speak less, see more. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a rare luxury. Everyone has an opinion, a reaction, a defense. But here's the paradox: the quieter you become, the more powerful you are. Silence is not emptiness. It's awareness without noise. It's the space where wisdom speaks, not through words, but through presence. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." And sometimes, even that one word is unnecessary. Think about it. How many arguments have you had that were never really about truth, but about ego? We fight to be right, not to be free. We talk to defend, not to understand. But silence, true silence, breaks that cycle. It doesn't mean you back down. It means you've risen above the need to prove anything. When you respond from silence, you respond from strength. When you don't rush to fill every gap with words, you allow truth to rise on its own. Imagine someone shouting at you, trying to provoke a reaction. You look at them, not with anger, not with arrogance, but with stillness. You say nothing. And in that moment, they realize something they didn't expect. They have no control over you. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their chaos back to them. This is not passive. It's powerful, because silence is control not over others, but over yourself. Here's a simple technique called the 90-second rule of silence. When anger rises, say nothing for 90 seconds. Studies show that most emotional spikes fade in that time if you don't feed them. Let the wave crest and fall before you speak. When you finally do, your words will come from clarity, not chaos. The Dhammapada reminds us, silence is the language of the wise. Because the wise know this truth, not every noise deserves an answer. You see, silence also saves energy. Every argument drains your mind. Every defensive word takes your focus away from growth. When you choose silence, you conserve your life force for what truly matters. And silence gives you clarity. In that quiet, you can see the real cause of pain, not the words spoken, but the emotion beneath them. Finally, silence breaks patterns. People expect conflict. When you don't play the game collapses. That's why monks, sages, and teachers through centuries have embraced silence as both armor and sanctuary. Silence is healing. It's discipline. It's strength in its purest form. And silence isn't only about how you treat others, it's also how you treat yourself. How often do you let the voice in your head chatter endlessly? Judging, comparing, replaying old wounds? That's noise too. True silence begins when your mind no longer needs to comment on everything. When thoughts arise, and you simply smile, saying, "Ah, there you are," before letting them drift away. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of peace. Here's a small ritual. Each night before bed, sit in silence for 2 minutes. No phone, no music, no words. Just breathe. Let the day melt away. In that silence, notice how the mind begins to soften. That's where wisdom lives. So, the next time you want to defend yourself, explain yourself, or shout your truth louder, stop. Ask yourself, is my silence more powerful right now? Most of the time, it is. Let silence be your teacher, your strength, your sanctuary. Now, we'll go deeper into the lesson that transforms pain into peace. Lesson 6. Acceptance. Find peace with what is. Suffering doesn't begin when something painful happens. It begins the moment we say, "This shouldn't be happening." We don't just feel pain, we fight it. We resist loss, resist uncertainty, resist reality itself. And in that resistance, we create a second layer of suffering, heavier than the first. The Buddha said, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional." Because pain is part of life, but suffering is the story we tell about that pain. When you accept what is, even when it's unfair, even when it hurts, something changes. The storm outside may continue, but the storm inside begins to calm. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's waking up. It's saying, "I may not like this, but I don't have to fight it." Imagine being caught in the rain with no umbrella. You can scream at the sky, curse the clouds, and still get soaked. Or you can walk calmly, feel the rain, and simply keep moving. Either way, you're wet. But only one version of you is at peace. That's acceptance. When we resist reality, our bodies stay in a constant fight or flight state. The nervous system floods with stress hormones, tightening muscles and racing thoughts. But when we practice acceptance, our body shifts. The breath slows. The mind opens. Clarity replaces chaos. Here's a simple practice called the 3-step acceptance flow. Step 1. Name it. Say what's happening out loud. I lost my job. They left. I'm scared. Naming the truth removes its shadow. Step 2. Feel it. Don't run. Don't numb. Let yourself feel the full weight of what's real. Breathe through it. Step 3. Say this mantra. It's okay to not be okay. Because peace doesn't come from perfection, it comes from permission. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop trying to change what can be changed. It just means you stop wasting energy fighting what already is. A woman once told me that when she lost her husband, she spent years fighting the grief. Every night she'd ask, "Why me?" But the day she whispered, "This is what is," something broke open. The pain didn't vanish, but it softened. She began to heal not because she moved on, but because she moved with it. That's the paradox of acceptance. When you stop resisting, you start transforming. Acceptance also frees you from people. You can't control how others behave, but you can stop needing them to behave a certain way to be at peace. When you accept others as they are, not to excuse their behavior but to stop suffering over it, you take back your power. And yes, acceptance even applies to yourself. You can't change what you haven't accepted. You can't heal what you keep denying. Look in the mirror and say, "I accept the person standing here not because they're perfect, but because they're trying." That's where real change begins. The moment you stop resisting your pain, it begins to dissolve. The moment you stop running from fear, it loses its grip. The moment you say, "This is what is," peace enters quietly through the back door of your heart. Acceptance doesn't erase the challenge, it removes the suffering around it. It turns chaos into clarity, bitterness into balance. So the next time life breaks your plans, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What now?" Because that's where freedom begins, not when you win the fight, but when you stop fighting reality. Acceptance is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of peace. And once you find that peace, you can channel it into something powerful, focused energy that shapes your entire life. Let's move forward. Lesson 7: Focused Energy, the daily training of the mind. Real peace doesn't come from a single moment of insight. It comes from steady practice, small, consistent acts of mindfulness repeated day after day. The Buddha called this bhavana, the cultivation of the mind. Just as a gardener tends to his soil, pulls weeds, and waters each day, you must tend to your mind. Because an untended mind will always grow weeds of worry, comparison, and fear. Here's a truth most people miss: your life moves in the direction of your attention. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. If your attention is scattered, bouncing between screens, noise, and endless distractions, your spirit becomes fragmented too. But if your attention is calm, deliberate, anchored, your life begins to align. Energy without focus is like sunlight without a lens. It warms, but it doesn't transform. Focused energy, however, becomes fire. Look at your day. How often do you let your mind wander without awareness? You start a task, then check your phone. You scroll, compare, react, and lose track of time. That's not laziness, that's scattered attention. And scattered attention is the silent thief of peace. The Buddha's teaching is simple: gather your mind. Bring it back to now, over and over again. Each time you return, you grow stronger. Imagine a drop of water hitting the same stone every day. One drop does nothing, but over time, it shapes the rock. Your focus works the same way. Every moment you return to mindfulness, you reshape your brain, your habits, your life. Here's a daily ritual to begin with, the 10-minute mind discipline. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. Morning, 5 minutes of intention. Sit quietly, breathe. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up in the world today? Picture yourself calm, kind, and grounded before the day begins. Evening, 5 minutes of reflection. Before sleep, ask, did I respond with peace today? If the answer is no, forgive yourself and say, tomorrow I'll return sooner. This is how you build emotional endurance, one breath, one choice, one return at a time. Even science now agrees. Harvard researchers found that just 10 minutes of daily mindfulness can reshape the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, empathy, and emotional control. So, yes, every moment of stillness matters. Every pause is practice. Every breath is a rep in the gym of awareness. And when you fail because you will, the path is simple. Start again. Even the most disciplined monks lose focus. The difference is, they always come back. Starting again is not failure. It's the essence of training. Each return makes your calm stronger. Each pause sharpens your presence. Until one day, your peace is no longer something you practice, it's something you are. Your presence becomes medicine for others. People feel calmer just being near you. Your silence comforts, your steadiness anchors. Because the one who has trained their mind becomes like a lighthouse, steady, bright, unshaken by the waves around it. So start again. And again. One breath at a time. That's how peace grows, not all at once, but deeply, slowly, beautifully. Now that we've walked through all 7 lessons, it's time to bring them together to see the full picture of what it means to become emotionally untouchable. You've just walked through 7 doors of awareness. 7 ways to return home to yourself. And now, it's time to see how they all fit together, how peace is not something you find, but something you build, moment by moment. Detachment taught you that love without clinging is real freedom. Observe, don't absorb reminded you that other people's chaos isn't your responsibility. The power of pause gave you control over the reflex that once ruled your life. Don't feed the fire showed you how silence can extinguish conflict. The power of silence taught you that stillness is louder than anger. Acceptance showed you that peace begins the moment you stop fighting reality. And focused energy showed you how to train that peace into permanence. Each one of these is not a rule, it's a practice. A way to live. A way to breathe. Because when you live this way, something shifts. You stop trying to control everything around you, and you start mastering what's within you. People may still insult you. Life will still challenge you. The world will still spin the way it always has. But your reaction, that's where your power lives. You begin to realize that peace isn't fragile. It's not a candle that flickers in the wind, it's the wind itself. It moves, it flows, but it never disappears. So when life shakes you, remember, you don't need to control the storm. You just need to remember that you are not the storm. You are the space the storm passes through. You are the mountain, unmoved by the weather. You are the stillness between one thought and the next. You are the quiet watcher behind every emotion, behind every reaction. That's the essence of freedom, not to change what happens, but to stay calm no matter what happens. And when you live from that stillness, something miraculous begins to happen. The people around you start to soften. Conversations become kinder. You stop needing to win and start wanting to understand. You stop defending and start listening. The world outside doesn't get quieter. You do. And when you do, you begin to see clearly, not through fear, not through ego, but through peace. That's when life opens up. That's when freedom stops being an idea and starts being your natural state. So as we close, take a deep breath. Inhale, feel the weight of the world rise. Exhale, let it go. Say silently, I am not what happens to me. I am how I meet what happens. Carry that truth with you. Into every argument, every challenge, every moment that tempts you to react. Remember, peace is not waiting at the end of your path, it is the path. Walk it gently. Walk it daily. And no matter what the world throws your way, keep coming back to this. You are the mountain. You are the quiet. You are the space between trigger and response. And in that space, nothing and no one can harm you.